Well, when critical theory truly took center stage in the public discourse around 2021, one of the most commonly asked questions at the time was, what can we as ordinary citizens do to push back? It was suggested that we show up at school board meetings, make our voices heard, and support board members who provided the social and political muscle needed to make a difference. What I didn't realize at the time was what the role and responsibilities of a school board trustee entailed, or how best we would have to act to help them to achieve the objectives beneficial to our communities and to our children. And that's a subject we'll be broaching today. The first question I have for all of you is, what motivated each of you to run for your local school board, and especially in this politically charged environment?
Okay, for me it was over 16 years ago, and the Ramona Unified School District, they ended up trying to pass a bond and it didn't pass, and so they ended up taking out a $40 million loan, which is called a certificate of participation, and so that motivated me to get on the board.
Well, I decided to run for the board where I went to school. I was born and raised in Lakeside, East County, San Diego, and I had worked in the state legislature for a couple senators, and I saw what a disaster the school district looked like from when I was there, when I was learning, and I had to just get involved. And so I ran, and I won, and I just won a re-election, and we got a 5-0 conservative board this time that I helped flip. So I'm very excited about that.
So I'm Jen Wiersma, and I was blessed to be raised in a home where my family taught me the importance of being involved civically as a citizen, as a patriot. I watched my mom campaign for Ronald Reagan. My dad ran for the water district. And so I knew I was biding my time and just waiting for the Lord to call me in. I went through a cancer struggle 3 years ago, got to the other side of it. And during that time, I just remember praying, okay, Lord, I have 3 wonderful children who are almost grown. They've gone through the Temecula School District. I see where we can make some good positive change. And I just felt the call. Like many of you, I watched during COVID what happened and the union stranglehold on the schools being closed and the children being masked and what went on behind the scenes online, and just decided it was time for me to step up. And I remember talking to Mr. Pompeo a couple of months ago and him just telling me, you know, Jen, that the front line, it's at the school board level. And I just remember thinking, thank you for the opportunity. Temecula, we've had a lot of turbulence, and I'll probably talk further about that. But even through the hardship, it's been such a great blessing because I'm there for the kids, I'm there for the parents, I'm there as a conservative, as a mom, and somebody who just wants to see change. So thanks for having me.
My name is Delia Dominguez Cervantes, and I have a much less intellectual reason to why I ran. I just got pissed off. Just that simple. And like Ms. Rebecca Holt said, it just took that anger, that frustration, just that combination of outrage when I saw the curriculum. I saw the curriculum. Mind you, I have teacher family in this school district that I ran, which is in Chula Vista Elementary School District, the largest elementary school district in the state. And I saw what the curriculum was with my own eyes. Yes, they were teaching critical race theory. Yes, they were and are still trying to sexualize our children. There's just no lie about it. And I confronted it and just went forward spoke at the school board meetings since it should be 19 something, but in 2021, when I first found out about it, how naive. I really believed that the school board did not know what was going on. Mm-hmm. They may have not known what degree it was, but most certainly they did know what was going on. My frustration came from the fact that they did not respond to the many times that I went to speak to them. I provided them the documentation. They said there was no such thing as that kind of curriculum. I held it up in my hand and said, it says curriculum right here. Yeah. What part of this do we not understand? Out-of-pocket money, yes. It just got so frustrating to the point that I just had to decide, okay, they're not listening to me from this side of the podium, and just God placed it in my heart as well. you're going to have to run. I reached out to the parents, and the biggest difference is to focus on what is most important to the families. And the families, the most important thing is their child. It makes no difference what party affiliation you have. If you can get that message across how important that it's about their child, that they're not getting the education they deserve, that they believe they should be getting, and you show them the facts, there's just no denying it. Over 75% of our constituency in the Chula Vista Elementary School Board, if you're in Chula Vista or it's in San Diego, there's an overlap between part of Bonita and part of South San Diego that extends and captures that school district. Over 75% of them are not registered conservative. Mind you, what did I say? Registered. But in their hearts, they really are. Some of them just don't know it. And that was what I was able to bring to the table to help them identify that what needed to be most important and to share it in their vote. And that's how we won. Thank you, Jesus.
When I read about the multiple instances about critical theory, it's very, very much raises my blood pressure. So Delia, that part about being pissed off, you are in good company. I have some individual questions for each of you that I'd like you to take on a one-on-one basis. The first one I have is for Delia. There was an incident in which an elementary school teacher in the Chula Vista School District that advocated for quote-unquote anti-racist, anti-bias training in early grades. From what I saw for the reasoning for this, it looked like a very politically correct explanation as to why this was going on. But given what we know about the current culture, why do you believe it's important that we need to set up safeguards against these programs?
You only counted one teacher, huh? There's lots more, but there's more that do not support that. They're just apprehensive about sharing that they do not agree with the approach of the way they want to teach anti-racism. It's the way. I'm going to share a very personal story that should capture where my position comes from. I have an immediate family member. In kindergarten, my family is biracial. You name it, we've got it. Religions, big family. I'm number 1 of 6 sisters. My husband is number 9 of 11. My mother is 9 of 12. You name it, and we all live in that area. All of them have tons of children. We just are a family. Any family you have dishwashers, mechanics, construction, lawyers, law enforcement, you name it. So we really are a reflection of the community. My little niece, blonde, blue eyes, fair skin, goes into kindergarten 2 years ago, and they start teaching her about what was happening with the George Floyd situation. And in trying to teach that, it actually did the very opposite of what these titles claim. They taught her, okay, if you see somebody with a hoodie, and they showed someone that had darker skin, and look at this, we're being mean. Those are terms that she used. We're being mean to people who wear a hoodie. We're prejudging. We're not being nice when we look at people that look different than us. 5 years old. My sister's taking my little, now I told you who it is, her grandchild to the park, and every day after school, there's people walking their dogs. A young man, hoodie, darker skin, never was a problem. After those lessons, guess what she was doing? Shying away, afraid. She became afraid. Why was she afraid? My sister found out. Well, we were so mean to the families of the people like him, so now they're mad at us, so I'm afraid he's going to hurt me. Are you kidding me? What did that do to being anti-bias and anti-racist? Instead of teaching, we treat everybody kindly and with respect, no matter what. They taught her to look at somebody else differently. How do I feel about it? I am totally against it, and I phrase it and I state it. And just on Wednesday on our school board meeting, they had a MOU with our school resource officers, our police department in Chula Vista, and it had very demeaning statements in it, like the SROs, the school resource officers, will be trained in illicit biases and making sure that they treat people of different colors, colored peoples, and those have been historically criminalized. I get so angry. I do. Discriminated against, and my position was, when I spoke on it, and I did not vote, I want the cops, I'm pro-law enforcement. What I didn't agree to is the language in that, and I asked, well, where do I fall? What's my skin color? Who am I? Who am I?
The next question is for Mr. Rodger Dohm. The Ramona Union School District in 2021 approved a policy banning the inculcation of critical race theory concepts. Within other school boards, I don't think it's an exaggeration to say that these activities have resulted in an explosive reaction by opposing board members as well as members of the community. What's been the implementation like in Ramona, and what has been the response from school students, teachers, and parents?
Okay, so we did introduce something. I want to read just a part of it because I think it helps. It's actually a civics education policy because we were having quite a few parents coming to us filing formal complaints about teachers advocating in the classroom for things that weren't even part of the curriculum. And so it was not just parents, even students complaining. And so then it got to the point that we spent about a year on these cases, and many of them were in closed session. And there were parents coming and having prayer vigils outside of the board meeting. And then they would come into the board meeting, and then they would definitely let us know what they were thinking. And critical race theory came up multiple times from parents asking us directly, are you teaching it? And we made it very clear, we are not teaching it. It is not mandated by the state of California. We will not be doing it. So in the process of us listening to, I'm sorry, I thought everybody was hearing me. Okay, so in the process of hearing all these complaints, we decided to add this into one of our policies, which is the civics history, social science policy that was on its renewal. And so we put it in, and then this is one of the statements that we added. Where the curriculum guide indicates course outlines and instructional materials, including supplemental and instructional materials, shall include the historic role that racism has played and the inequalities that result from it, but shall not impart any of the following concepts. Concept A, one race or sex is inherently superior to another race or sex, and B, an individual by virtue of his or her race or sex is inherently racist, sexist, or oppressive, whether consciously or unconsciously. So it goes on. There's a lot more statements, but just those two things eliminate the ability to teach critical race theory right away. And so once we did that, so you can see this pattern. We first have all these parents coming very upset with concepts that were being taught, they shouldn't be taught, and kids being offended, families being offended. And then once we adopted this policy, then all of a sudden the roles shifted. Now we have a mixture of community members and all kinds of teachers coming. And the teachers are all upset because we feel like, or how would I say it? We felt like we were doing the right thing. We know we did. And the teachers are telling us we're handicapping them, making it so that they cannot teach. And what's ended up happening over time is that we discovered that the problem that we have is a process problem, that we have not invited the community into the process of approving curriculum and helping to develop it. So we developed a committee that allowed the community to be part of that process. And so the committee, which we established, And it included a few community members and board members. And we basically changed our process for reviewing curriculum. Now, that created a big stir with teachers because they felt like, well, we're the experts, you should trust us. And we're like, no, we are trusting you. But at the same time, we need to make sure that we have everybody at the table that's approving curriculum. And ultimately, it's the board that decides curriculum in the end. We're the one that has that authority, and it comes to us. And so we have delegated that to you over the years to make those decisions, but now we're pulling that back, and we're going to be making those decisions along with you. And so they didn't like that, and then what ended up happening is, over time, we had this committee, they met, and everybody felt really good. It was, kumbaya. And so I think it makes sense. And then they kept challenging us. And so I just went ahead and said, publicly in a board meeting, I said, well, I think everybody here in the audience, those that are here, especially the teachers, misunderstand my stance on this. And I am a teacher. I've been a teacher for over 27 years. And I said, I think that the board has missed the mark, that we have not taken this responsibility as seriously as we should. And so we are now going to take that seriously. And because of that, I think you misunderstand. I'm not saying that we're going to do this process of bringing in the community and all the stakeholders to approve history textbooks. I'm saying we should do that with every single textbook and curriculum, period. Okay, then no longer do they show up. That's kind of what's happened. And now, we just had our board meeting Thursday, and we had one teacher, which is the high school history teacher, and she's been extremely accommodating. She goes, you know who I am. I'm going to be teaching the right way, and I do trust her. But what happens when she retires and the next person comes in? So we have to create policy. We have to approve instructional materials, and I think you just have to go through the process. There's going to be chatter from both sides, but as you go through this process, in the end, what will happen is it will be the best thing for the community and ultimately for the children.
All right.
My next question is directed to Mr. Andrew Hayes. The Lakeside Union District established an equity committee in 2021, and as benign as it sounds, equity takes on a very pernicious meaning when it comes to critical theory. What's been the effect of the equity committee been like, and what have been the results within the community?
Great question. The story of the equity committee. So when I got on the board in Lakeside, now understand that Lakeside, San Diego is a very, very conservative community. Now, when I got on the board, I was in a 4-1 minority. 4-1. The teachers union ran the whole district, ran the whole thing. And so you can imagine that they certainly did not want me on the board when I got there. And so over time, what we saw, now we have very specific sites in our district, and like any other district, you have school sites that have a different flavor and different culture. Well, we have an immersion program on one of our sites, and this site draws a lot of parents from outside the district to bring their kids to our district. And one of the things that we found, that I learned very quickly when I got on board, was certain sites also have certain political parents. And so what we ended up finding is these parents came to the board and said, hey, we would love to work on developing an equity policy. And I'm going, oh, here we go. I don't know how this is going to go, where we're going to be. And so the board said, okay, well, why don't we establish a committee where they can sit and talk about what the policy should look like and then bring it back to the board. And I'm going, oh, well, okay, I mean, let's see what they want to bring to us. What they brought to us was quite disturbing. And so I had to figure out, well, how am I going to water this down? I mean, how am I going to work with my colleagues to make sure that the politically charged language that was there was not going to happen? Now, remember, I was in the minority at that time. We didn't have a 5-0 board like we do now. And so I had to figure out, well, what do we do? How do we do this? So basically what ended up happening was I just kept saying, hey, what if we change it to say this? What if we change it to say that? What if we change it to say this? And so the equity committee ultimately, was very frustrated. And so we got this very, very milquetoast, watered down equity policy as a result, because my colleagues at the time got worn down from me saying, hey, I have a question here, I have a question there. And of course I would always cover it with, well, I'm new to the board and I don't really know, and can you help me understand this? And because I mean, otherwise, if I called it to a vote, it was gonna pass in its own function. And this is what you do when you're in the minority, because you got to find a way to victory. You can't find a way to lose. And so I knew that I had to just keep streaming this along as we could. So when the policy passed, it was very milquetoast, watered down. Well, then, COVID hit and we got into all these battles, and the parents in the community got very, very engaged, which was very important for me, because then I was able to recruit a candidate to run, and we won that seat. I finally had a second on the board. I didn't have to ask for a courtesy second anymore, right? And even then they wouldn't courtesy second me, by the way. But I would try to get things going. So we had a second, excellent. And then, these folks continued to want to keep schools closed in Lakeside, not listening to the community, by the way. Like, I'd go and show up at Albertsons and I wouldn't leave for 3 hours because people are saying, when are we getting back to school? So we were able to then get a whole 5-0 board this last election. And now the equity committee does what it should do, which is talk about educating kids and meeting them where they are. And so we have people on the committee now that talk about, how are we going to make sure kids in my district can get career opportunities? How are we going to meet them where they are to teach, proactive math, right? So it's an equity committee that's not actually talking about the crazy bullcrap policies of equity that are flying around all the time. We're actually doing what equity means, which is meeting kids where they are and what they need. And so that's what it turned into. But you can see the sinews here, right? That it took from me saying, oh, I'm so sorry, I'm just, I'm new and I don't know, and hey, by the way, and then it came to now where we're actually going to impact change in our district, where we're meeting kids with the targeted support they need in math and career programs. So I feel very excited about that policy and that committee, because at first I was going, oh, here we go. Now I feel way better about where we are. So to me, this is just for those school board members who may be out there who are in the minority on your board. Ask questions, bog it down, and keep going, because that's how you can have victory. And then pay attention for the election when it comes around, and make sure that you recruit and you find people and you pay attention. And by the way, parents, show up, because the parents who showed up for this equity policy that they wanted, these were people who don't live in my district, drive their kids to the schools where we are, right, where they send their kid, and are part of the PTA. And so they say, well, I'm part of the PTA, and guess what? I want this for my school site. Well, that's great. Do you live here? No. And by the way, if I go and talk in Albertsons and say, oh yeah, we adopted an equity committee today, they're gonna, what are you talking about, Andrew? Like, this is crazy. I'm telling you, they don't know the community, and they want to bring ideas back to the board. So I just encourage board members to be vigilant, and if you're in the minority, find a way to win, because I'm about scoreboard. I don't like losing, so I like to figure out a way to make sure that we can have victory. So thank you.
My final singular question is directed to Jen Wiersma. Jen, in the Temecula district, you and 2 other independent trustees have been working hard to educate your local community about the harms of politicized teaching, for which you have been targets of retaliation, intimidation, and legal challenges. I witnessed the meeting that occurred several months ago and noticed that there was a lot of straw manning of the positions taken against the politicization. It's like, how do you respond to all the penalization, the public smearing, and the censorship that has resulted as a result of what happened in the meeting?
There is so much that has gone on, and I'm going to level with you. I am tired. I come to you today as I was driving down, just trying to organize my thoughts and kind of thinking through the last few months. I'm a new board member. I was sworn in December, right? And 3 of us were new. And that first night, we did vote to pass a ban on racism and critical race theory. And that night was surreal. It was 600 or 700 people in a theater. It was lots of high school students with signs calling us bigots and white supremacists. And we listened to a lot of public comments. And what really broke my heart was seeing them not understand what CRT is about. And it was apparent as I sat there taking in information through a fire hose that there was a lot that we were going to have to talk through as a community. And the one thing I want to do right here is thank those of you who are here who have provided me counsel and encouragement on the phone, online. Rodger, this is the first time we've met in person, but I've called him, Mary Barkey, Lance Christensen, Chris Aaron, Rebecca Holtz. So many of you in my last 7 or 8 months have helped bring me here. And I still have so much to learn and to glean and humbly say, I'm still trying to learn all that there is. School board is so complicated. And my friend's son, who's training in law school, said, Jen, if you're interested at all in politics, do not step into the school board arena because you will be a villain. You will be hated. I'm like, no. I've been a sanguine my whole life. I love people. I've got lots of joy. I had that Pollyanna perspective. I'm going to be great. And besides, I'm called the school board. And I was, and I am, and I'm still here. But I will tell you, I'm tired. It truly is difficult. And I think a lot of you have seen us in the news. I will tell you, most of it is not the full context of what's gone on. And there have been nights where I've sat with my husband and my kids and just said, gosh, this was a sacrifice I was ready to make. But thank you for making it as well. Because there's a lot with the recent lawsuit from the CTA, from TVEA, which are the union organizations. Those have come down through public counsel with Ballard Spar, basically suing over this resolution where many of the people at that night in December told us we're not teaching it. So here's what you need to know. Now this lawsuit is that we can't teach what we want to teach. There's just a lot of confusion to sort through. And so I can't speak a lot to the case right now because thankfully the advocates for faith and freedom stepped up and decided to represent us. And so at this past board meeting, we did vote to have them come in pro bono and work with us, which is again a big blessing because as a trustee, you don't want lawsuits, right, and the litigation and the threats that could drain public funds, but that's part of the threat and the intimidation and trying to get us back down as well. So I'm grateful for them, and I can't speak a lot to the case, but moving forward, we're going to continue on every level that we can to help educate people, not just locally, but on a statewide and if it opens up on a national level about critical race theory. We don't want to whitewash history or not appreciate our students for their ethnicity, their race, their diversity. I have always grown up with a love for people regardless of where they come from, and yet somehow that gets lost in the news. We want students to be able to sit in a classroom without divisive ideology and controversial activism, and what's invading is disturbing. And so in being someone who wants to advocate for truth, it is tough to constantly get the ideas out there that we want to put certain groups in a corner and make them feel less than. And that's not true. As many of you know as well, Tony Thurman came to the Valley to visit us. He didn't say hello to me. I wasn't there that day, but I kind of heard. And the thing that bothered me about that is he didn't meet with a family whose daughter was in a classroom on one of our campuses and exposed to a play called Angels in America. It was a play that, well, it's Pulitzer winning, right? It's meant for college classes, but basically this is a play with over 100 F words, very violent, explicit sexual scenes. And some of these students were exposed to that. There was a mom who was so upset with what her 15-year-old encountered, and she came to a school board meeting and talked to us. So I took that in that night and decided, you know what, we need to look into writing policy. We need to revise things. We need to change the language because this isn't acceptable. And you would think that would be an easy thing to do. Nope. It's a fight. You have people in the community come out and defend free speech, which I'm a defender of free speech, but not when it comes to pornography and this verbiage that is totally unacceptable. And if we're going to talk about an equitable education, we better not be exposing our children in a classroom to this kind of trauma. Kids come from all kinds of backgrounds with sexual abuse, with addiction, and we in our district should never allow for this. And so I'm busy rewriting policy. So hopefully we can address that from the top down and also have the teachers buy in and understand that this is something we all need to take on. Social studies. So many of you know that I studied that particular curriculum that we were looking at. I was interested in a robust history filled with civics and geography, and social studies is often big ideas, social engineering. So let's talk a little bit about George Washington and then talk about global warming, oil spills, being a good citizen, and all of those things are important, but I just wanted to see strong history, and it's what I advocated for. Along the way, we did also look through some controversial material with Harvey Milk and what was shared in the 4th grade classroom. Again, for me, it was what was educationally suitable for an appropriate age level. And so I kind of fought for that. There was a lot of angst. Of course, the governor threw out his threat on Twitter with a video and a $1.5 million fine, which is outside his purview. I spoke to that on various interviews with the news and just said, you know, the governor needs to do his thing. School board members need to do theirs. Local control is everything. And that is why I'm honored to be on the front line and serving. We did end up adopting that curriculum. It was a very mixed bag, but what people don't know is that we accepted it with modifications. So we're going to take a chapter, and a committee of teachers and parents will help rewrite this. So we won't be talking about some of the things that are currently there. We're also going to infuse the curriculum with extra material, whether it's civics, geography, something like core knowledge. There's a variety of material out there that I think could really help our kids. And so through this struggle with the district office, with the governor colluding all the way out to Corey Jackson, who's written the bill AB 1078, there's just so much that's gone on. And I feel like TVUSD, Chino, has been looked at, and literally they're legislating in real time. So I guess it's helpful to know that we're making an impact. We're not backing down. We're going to continue on with what we believe in. We're going to defend ourselves best we can. And again, it is about the parents. Sorry, I'm talking so long, but this is my fire in helping you understand that we are all about the parents, the families, these kids, and doing what's right. We took the unions by surprise because 3 of us knocked doors for 6 months. And I did not differentiate between party, religious affiliation or lack thereof. It didn't matter to me. It was reading, writing, arithmetic, get the ideology out, especially for our elementary kids. None of the sexualization. All of these things are so important to all of us. That's what we're fighting for. That's what we're governing for. And as a new board, we're learning. I'm learning. I know I haven't done it all perfectly, but I'm still committed to being here and trying to explain with every conversation. We really want what's best for every kid, regardless of their background. They all deserve a stellar education. And yes, the public school system and the unions, it's tough. I love the teachers. The unions, not so much. There's those union leaders where I thank them for work they've done in the classroom, but it's such an interesting balance for me because I'm angry some days about what I've seen gone on, the narrative. I recently went through a job change, and you can figure out what that was attributed to. A colleague, they went after his dissertation. Another colleague, they outed his kids in their school and helped shut down some of his business as, I won't go into that. I don't want to reveal too much. I'm just saying there's a lot that we've come up against. And so if you're a person of prayer, please continue to remember all of these school board members and people across the state, because we're trying to do the right thing. We're committed to it, that parents coming to school board meetings, being aware, emailing us, all of that makes such a huge difference. So thank you for listening to my long speech. Just know that TVUSD is committed to continuing on. They're trying to recall us right now, all 3 of us. So go to Gen number 4, tvusd.com. That's my website where I'll update people. And then my Instagram is Jen for TVUSD. So it's weird because I'm working, parenting, having to deal with the recall, trying to govern, trying to get places to let people know where things are at, and it's tough, but with CFER and support from so many of you, we're gonna get the job done and keep moving through any of the obstacles, so thank you.
This next question, I think, is more relevant to all of us, but a response from all four of you would certainly help. What can we do to help all four of you? Like, acting as public servants, we always hope for open communication between our trustees and the community. To be effective, what do you hope for and expect from parents of the local community in order to be effective? Like, in addition, what does the role of a trustee offer said community as gatekeeper of your respective school districts? Directed at all four, so please answer as you please.
Okay, so one of the most important things you can do is come to the school board meeting, to come and talk to us. And not just you as adults, but your kids. When students come and speak to the board members, it's much more impactful than when you do. We do listen to students, and I have to tell you, in our situation, we had a couple students come and speak up board meeting after board meeting, and it's hard to deny their experience because that's what was happening to them. So that's the number one thing. The other thing is to let us know that you're willing to participate in the process, because we have lots of committees and other things that we could really use you. You're very valuable in that process. And a lot of times people are not willing because they have time commitments, they have families, jobs. And so if you can make yourself available, and then also, it's already been mentioned, consider the idea of running on the board. People come and go on the board, and we always need conservatives to run. And I think that's one of the problems. Don't let the teachers union endorse you. I mean, I'm proud to say that for the last 5 times I have won the election, I've never had the teachers union endorse me, and I'm a teacher. So that's kind of a bad thing, right? So anyway, that's the mark.
Yeah, I don't want to sound too redundant. I would just say, get engaged, read the board packets, show up. Here's something though that we learned in Lakeside during COVID that I found extremely helpful because I was in the minority. If you live somewhere and you have someone who's in the minority on your board and they're with you and they're allied with you and they try to add something to the agenda and the board president, like in my case at that time, would not add it to the agenda as a voting item or as a discussion item, you as members of the public can add items to the agenda. Do it. Put these people on record so that they can lose their election. When I was out in the community, I was talking to so many people about opening schools, and my colleagues at that time were shameless. Oh, we wanted to reopen schools. We were good. It was fine. We wanted it to happen. You are lying. That is bold-faced lies. And you know how I proved it? Parents from different groups in East County and San Diego added things to the agenda because when I requested it, they do it as a discussion item. Now they did it. It was a vote. Thank the Lord. Because then I was able to motion the vote. I had my second, and we were able to get things going. And get these folks on record voting to not reopen schools, voting to keep kids out of the classroom because they weren't going to wear a mask, all these things, right? We were able to encourage them to vote that way. So that, and the election came around, and they went to a town hall meeting where they were asked, hey, did you support this? Did you do that? And they said no. So I said, hey, here's the vote right here. Take a look. That's how we win, and that's how you get engaged. So that just know your rights and know the issues that your school board is facing and working on. And by the way, prioritize what you want and go for it. If you want a CRT resolution, get it on the agenda. Get it on the agenda. Now, of course, the school board president may say, oh, I don't want it on the agenda. Well, then you can say, why aren't you putting it on the agenda? There is code that allows for that. Why aren't you doing it? So I just think that these are the things that are transparent and allow for the discussion to happen, because I think most normal people, when they see, as a school board president, would deny a member of the public's desire to add something to the agenda. Seriously? Like, really? And I think that creates even more of a wedge for that person and a problem for them. So it's about stirring up things so that you can help win and get your point across and get the things out that are best for kids. Because certainly CRT, all these politicized agendas, sexualization of our kids is not good for the kids, particularly in elementary school and middle school and in high school. It's a totally different bag, right? So we have to make sure that you guys are engaged and you stay engaged and you go there, figure out committees that you want to be on and ask to be on it. Like in my district, I would love for you to sit on the equity committee, you know, right? I would love for you to sit on the curriculum committee, right? The homework committee, where we're going to talk about grading and all these other things, to not let these equity grading ideas permeate my district, right? So I want people of like mind on those committees. And so get on them, show up, be there, because I need that kind of support. I need that help, right, as a school board member. When I was fighting back on reopening schools, I had to organize school board members from across San Diego County. You know, right here, Rodger joined my coalition. Many others joined the coalition to reopen schools. And that's very important because we had over 45 school board members and we were able to open across the county when they said, oh no, you can't do that. Well, we did. Move forward. You know, Joan was on board too on many times. So anyway, my point is help us by showing up so we can make sure that we're not alone, because sometimes it's hard. So as you attested to.
I just want to piggyback on that with the committees. I think that's so important because as you look at the kingdom of the district and then the local community, if you can step up and serve, as you mentioned, that will make such a difference. Site councils, you can call your school, see when they're going to meet. All the different committees make such a difference. And if you've got like-minded people throughout, it makes a board member's life simpler because you know who you can go to, you know who you can trust for some of the information, and those people of integrity and purpose and parental oversight will impact everything and how it runs. So I think that's one thing that I've seen as a board member. I'm only a point person and I can't do it all. I tried to do it all and I've failed. You know, I mean, we've had good moments, but I've just had to step back and look at the full context, and you with 6 years of experience could totally speak into where I'm at. It makes a difference if you can choose your lane and run in it, whether it's a committee, whether it's going to a board meeting, whether it's writing a letter of encouragement. Just the letters that I've received of encouragement have brightened the day on the dime. You just don't know what those words will do. So please, write those letters in addition to coming to a meeting and sharing a concern. And then here's kind of a philosophical thought that I've seen with our group who's fired up in the community. There's at times like bickering and a struggle with egos, and I want to be in charge of this, and I'm kind of watching some of the factions. And what I want to tell everyone is come together, whatever your talent is, your lane, what you want to participate in, it's all valuable. It's all God-given. It's all amazing. Whatever you can bring to the table, you'll make a difference in your district. And then just stop with the noise, stop with the gossip. That's what I want to say as a board member, because I need to step back and do the focus locally and speak to what I can, but then encourage those people throughout to make the kingdom more beautiful because they have something to add. So that's what I would tell you too, is just figure out how you can make the most impact and focus on that, because then ultimately you will bring the good to your community and your board member.
Everything they said. And more. If you cannot attend the school board meetings, please email. Those emails become public record. Email, leave voicemail messages, those I would not trust. You know, from where we're coming from, you have to watch who you can trust. So if you cannot attend those school board meetings, send an email, you know, the positions that you have on certain things. At my school board, I am the only conservative person. Everyone on the other four are either far left or further left or more even. There's zero compromising. And it doesn't matter how many people come to speak against policies that they want to put through. It doesn't matter how many times they've sent in emails requesting certain things to get on the agenda to them. One day we'll be like Andrews. And I do have to say though, that something else, if you know of someone, if you don't want or not interested in running yourself, if you know of someone, send them over to Frank or anyone else. Frank Chu will connect them to who they need to be speaking with so that they can run. Maybe they don't want to run yet, but there's leadership classes, things they can attend now so that they get to a point where they feel a little bit more comfortable. Now, there's other people that have helped me, and I want you to know that there's people, just even in this room, that will help you. We have a Mark Schneider. He has sent me extensive emails when I just shared with him a little while ago. In my battle, I felt I had already lost and I hadn't entered this particular battle. His guidance, the information from a legal standpoint, just from his experience, was the information I needed, the pieces I needed to address some issues that were coming up. Andrew Hayes, I don't know how many times he's driving, he picks up the phone, he'll help me. He's met with me to guide me, mentoring me, more on the one-on-one. Todd Madison may not even know, but he's helped me so much. You remember just Zooms, one-on-one. I didn't understand what that meant. I still don't understand most of it. But the numbers just helped me to get a sense or a grapple. He even reviewed some of our budgets to help me feel at ease, because you do need people you can trust. You need people you can trust. Sonia Diaz, who got up and spoke a little earlier, there's people amongst us that will help. I don't know if just sending in your names, hey Frank, we want to help out there. I live in this area. Who needs help out there? Maybe other organizations that can reach out. We need so much help out there, and there's so much to do, but little laborers. There's lots out there. What else that I expect from my community is that help us in that way. We are your voice, not just my voice, everyone else's voice that are conservative. Go to, us as members, I'm sure the rest of you go to school fairs, community fairs, to the churches, to speak to them, to share with them. You'd be amazed. You know 100 times more than what they know. They are very trusting of what they think the school is providing them. They're lacking in knowledge, not because they don't care about the kids, because the trust. They don't know that it's been robbed right from under their noses. They don't realize that. What else? Oh, I do have a copy here of the BLM coloring book that I spoke earlier of, that got me involved with the school board. That Black Lives Matter coloring book. My family's, like I said, biracial. My daughter brought it home, one of the teachers, and she showed her husband, who's black, and he says, "Oh yeah, great. How are we gonna help the community here, help the black family, the black community?" He opens up the first page, and one of the very first pages is all about not uplifting the black community. It's all about teaching the children. This is a kindergarten to third grade coloring book, to question their gender. Every page, and it's a coloring book. I have a sample there, and it's things that my school board denied existing. Didn't matter that I had the hard copy. And I was part of the community at the point. I was not a board member, although I'm still part of the community. This school board does not listen to what the community wants. So what we needed to do is do what I did, is run. But you gotta get the message out. We need the workers, we need the people on the ground, your emails, to just share it en masse to your trusted, conservative friends. That's how we get the word out. That person will send it to another, and 100 or 10 or their group. That's how you can help. If you can't go to the school board meetings, that's how you can help us from a fingertip at your keyboard. Thank you for your support.
I hope that I haven't discouraged any of you from running for school board. That's the one thing I want to come back to. Up in Temecula, we need 2 more in 24 so that we can have that 5-0. Yes, so even though I'm tired and there's some angst, please know we need you to step up. And there's a lot of excitement and momentum moving through the state with everything from parental rights to acknowledging parents, despite the governor, Thurmond, all the rest. Sonia Shaw's a soul sister in Chino. We are encouraging each other. So please know that if you're called, you'll be given the strength and the energy and the stamina to get through it, even though you'll have the down days. So please know in 2024, look in your district, look and see what's open, because more people are coming to the table and I'm excited about that. So don't close that door. That's all I wanted to say.
Don't want to run? Walk a precinct.
We're running a little short of time. Do we have time to entertain at least one question? 2 questions? Questions for our board members, please. 2 questions. This gentleman back here.
This question's for Andrew. There's a school board in.
We can't hear you, Andrew.
Can you hear me?
No.
Can you hear me now? Okay. There's a school board up in Lafayette that has found the board policies and actually tried to get them to actually put something on the agenda.
Microphone.
And so what's happened is they've sent several letters and these people are refusing, and then they're just stalling. And is there anything they can do in conjunction to push back? Because this is the kind of thing that I'm seeing across the state, because people don't understand. They're kind of like stuck with these people and they're not doing anything about it. So
My advice would be hold a press conference in front of the district office and say they're limiting my freedom of speech. Because you know what? Have a bunch of parents show up, put them on blast in the press. I mean, that's their only place to go. And then cite the board policy. And and by the way, if there's a neighboring school district board member that's with you on this issue, have them go and show up in front of that school district office and then be the elected official in the room to lead and fight in that area. So that's what I would say. Hold a press conference in front, or if there's a Republican conservative legislator in that area, ask them to hold a press conference in front of the school district. I mean, fight for that First Amendment right to put something on the agenda. It's a public meeting. So, I mean, that would be my argument, is put a press conference together.
unfortunately, it's the bluest part of the state.
Okay, but I would say find somebody, hold a press conference, get signs, organize, hold in front of the district office.
One more question.
I have more of a statement. I just want to say thank you to you guys. I am a huge fan of all of you that are sitting up there. And what's happening in some of these districts and what we're hearing about, I'm so loud, is it's contagious. We're starting to see other school board members get courage and kind of stand up to these unions and stand up to this big government idea. And just at California Policy Center, we're seeing these districts call us wanting to know, how are you guys doing it? Like, what's bringing you courage? And I just want to applaud all of you and say thank you. It's working.
We have to move on to the rest of our program, but let's give another round of applause for these brave men and women.